Mr. Speaker, I have a motion to recommit at the desk.
Is the gentlelady opposed to the bill?
Yes, sir, in its current form.
The gentlelady qualifies. The clerk will report the motion.
Ms. Moore of Wisconsin moves to recommit the bill, H.R. 4660, to the Committee on Appropriations.
Gentleman is correct. The House is not in order.
Mr. Speaker, ask unanimous consent to dispense with reading.
Without objection, the gentlelady is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is the final amendment of this bill. This amendment will not kill the bill, nor will it merely send it back to committee, but rather, if adopted, the bill will immediately proceed to final passage as amended. Mr. Speaker, this motion to recommit is straightforward and simple. It would increase funding for 3 critical priorities. First, our chronically underfunded Violence Against Women Act programs. Second, for grants to process the backlog on rape kits. And third, for our community-oriented policing services, COPS grants program, which was slashed deeply in the appropriations bill before us tonight. Now, given the limited time that I have in the late hour that I have to discuss all these issues, I just want to focus my remarks on one of the nation's staggering backlogs that we haven't talked about. We've talked, and importantly, about the backlog at the Veterans Administration, but we have been silent about the backlog of the sexual assault kits that have not been analyzed. We have not seen a similar amount of attention paid to the crisis in these rape kits that have been backlogged. We've all heard these harrowing tales from our communities, from young women and men who have waited so long for justice and waited and waited and waited and waited some more. These victims have not only endured the initial assault, but they've also endured an invasive exam to collect DNA shortly after the attack. Mr. Speaker, these exams last for over 4 hours in some cases. It is unimaginable how difficult this is to bear. It takes so much courage for a victim to come forward and endure in hopes that the perpetrator will be caught. And you know, it's the very least we owe to these victims to process all of the evidence. Yet, thousands of victims across the country never hear anything, ever again. Police already possess the evidence that's needed to identify and convict the perpetrators of these crimes. Yet, criminals remain at large, primarily because these unprocessed kits remain in back rooms, warehouses, and labs. And given the sad reality that most sex offenders are recidivists, it is imperative that we close the loop on these old cases so offenders don't seek out new victims. And part of the terror of being raped is knowing that the perpetrator is still out there. He can come back to get you, someone else, you don't know who he is, and it puts not only that individual in terror, but puts the whole community in terror. On the aggregate level, the Department of Justice has tallied about 400,000 rape kits that remain sitting in evidence lockers, largely because local authorities can't afford the $500 to $1,500 it costs to test these kits. Some of these kits go back to the 1980s. And even though this evidence is old, Mr. Speaker, we shouldn't assume that they're meaningless. In Detroit, law enforcement personnel, as an example, are currently analyzing 11,000 abandoned kits they found in a warehouse 6 years. These kits had been sitting there for 6 years, and after processing only 10% of these rape kits, they have identified 46 serial rapists who have been that they have identified. In New York City, They show that after they process their backlog of 17,000 kits, the arrest rate for rape kits increased from 40% to 70%. The overwhelming scourge of backlog kits will require nothing less than a national commitment, Mr. Speaker, including a dedicated response from the United States Congress. I am pleased that the bill before us tonight fulfills a request from the Obama administration to provide funding for a new grant program to inventory and test rape kits, develop units to pursue new investigative leads, and offer support to victims during the process. The new investment through this bipartisan bill is an important first step. However, through simple addition, we can tally pending costs of declaring the backlog. Thank you so much for your indulgence, Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
What purposes?